Welcome to ENside Politics, our weekly podcast on a small handful of things you need to know about San Antonio politics. I'm Greg Jefferson, politics editor of the San Antonio Express-News. I'm joined today by reporter Madison Iszler.
Hello.
And our special guest, Cody Davenport, CEO of the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo. Welcome.
Thank you for having us, Greg.
Yeah, we're really glad you could make time because you were a very busy man campaigning for a $192 million venue tax proposition.
Yes.
It's going to go to voters on November 4th. And this would, and what we're talking about is an increase in the Bexar County's venue tax. So a tax on hotel rooms and rental cars. And it would pay for a pretty big redo of the Freeman Coliseum grounds, the Coliseum itself, I believe.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, let's kind of walk us through that project, the master plan.
Sure. So, when this first came about, just kind of going back, the Spurs came in and they talked about looking for a new home. Mm-hmm. As a rodeo, sometimes once I got past the initial, curling up in a ball, being in shock, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Timing is just perfect for our show in the sense that literally if it had been 10 years earlier, I'm not positive our show could have responded in the manner that we have. And what I mean by that is we are ready. We are primed and ready based upon our growth, our events, everything that's taken place to expand our operations outside of the month of February. We literally are busting at the seams in the month of February. And ever since I came in as CEO, I'm constantly getting calls from around the nation of what I reference the Western industry. Because I think one thing that's very important to express is that we're not talking about, when we talk about going year round, or we're talking about these facilities that we're going to get into, we're not talking about rodeo as you know it in February, just rinse and repeat rodeo.
Right. We're
talking about a massive industry out there when we're talking about the Western industry across the board, from things that are equestrian to livestock shows to all the industry that surrounds it, from cuttings to all these things. So I would get calls literally from large, organizations around the nation saying, hey, San Antonio, Texas, we want to come to San Antonio. It's a tourism location. We've got the weather in the winter. We know you guys at the San Antonio Rodeo because I'm out all the time traveling. We want to come there. I'm like, well, I would love that, but I don't own these grounds.
Right.
And
I got this roommate.
I have two roommates. Yeah. We're crowded. And we're very crowded. Great way to put it, roommates. I'm going to use that more. And in the sense that, we were constricted. So opening those doors and then having the facilities that we can be competitive in our industry, that I can go out and I can compete around the nation to bring these types of people in. So we go to Judge Sakai and we say, Judge, we've been here since 1949. We are the original tenants on these grounds. I would say, I'd like to make everybody aware that those grounds down there were donated by Joe and Harry Freeman through legislation given to the county for agricultural and expo purposes. So we started there. We intend to stay there. The East Side is our home. We never want to leave there. We watched everything grow up around us. We don't want to leave. We love it there. And Judge, we have an opportunity as a show to be your anchor tenant and to expand in an industry that is massive and expand upon what we have done with you guys in our partnership since 1949.
Right. Now, this will surprise you. I'm not an expert in rodeos. Or
we need
Western,
to make it.
Yeah. So when I first heard, began hearing about this push to kind of build out the grounds to accommodate year-round rodeo events, I was skeptical about whether that was a realizable dream. Could it happen? But, kind of looked around a little bit. But tell me what your models are and what leads you to believe this could work?
Well, I would love to say that, I'm a genius and I came up with this wonderful plan and guarantee.
We're all geniuses.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah.
A couple of things inside that. One, first off, the Western industry we're talking about, we're not exactly talking about a fad here. I mean, it's an industry that has been around an extremely long time and has a massive following, right? But when you talk about, what do we know? So when I came in, I traveled to all of our I call them peer rodeos, peer industry partners, and stuff like that. It's part of my job is to travel around and work within our industry and stuff like. So places like, I would reference the Calgary Stampede is a great example. They're up there in an urban environment in Calgary, and they are running year-round operations there in the Western industry, from concerts to events and stuff like that. And the whole city of Calgary, embraces what they're doing there. Fort Worth, our neighbors to the north, another great example. What they've been able to do with the stockyards there by backing that plan. It's a very heavily industrial area all the way around the stockyards. Yeah. And you look at what has happened up there. A great example is Vegas. Even going back to, people think of the NFR being in Vegas. LVE in Las Vegas, I mean, they're the kings of bringing in people and making things happen, right? The NFR used to be in Oklahoma. They go in there and say, we recognize the power of this industry. We want to bring it to Vegas because December is one of our dead months. So we're going to take over the month of December with the cowboy culture, if you will. They go in there, they bring the NFR there. Now, if you go to Vegas in December, every single casino, every single location, they're doing something, whether it's country music to arenas in their parking lots to just being, clothing, the cowboy Christmases, all these things. The industry is massive that we're talking about. We're not talking about just rodeo. What everybody here knows, and I'm very grateful that they do, is in the month of February, we put on this world-class rodeo here in that format. Right. But one thing is, we're the gateway to Mexico too. I've been seeding for a number of years now, our work down into Mexico. Things that people don't even recognize, like we have selected international contestants inside of our rodeo, where I go into Mexico and literally select them to come in. So we have that international representation. We've been working with Piedras Negras and Eagle Pass about the possibility of putting on an international qualifier down there. We've been seeing all that. There's Escaramusas, there's Charreadas, there's all these events that are taking place right there that we could be hosting and feeding up here, South Texas, the gateway to the entire industry in San Antonio, from proximity to Mexico, that we could beat Fort Worth in. That's not even counting everything that's already happening up there across, the nation, from the cuttings to the roping stalls. So I'm talking about industry partners that are coming and doing all this stuff. Last component is the livestock side. We have let's use the FFA convention, for example. Massive convention that takes place for a week. It's bouncing between Fort Worth and Corpus right now. Those are the two homes that it's just bouncing through. We could host that. They're on the grounds. We have breed shows that we can be hosting. They're junior shows. All these things across the industry. So when I'm talking about year-round rodeo, what I'm really talking about is a tried and true long industry that is very diverse, very wide, that could be coming down there in a year-round capacity, not necessarily just rodeo.
And to make that happen, you've got this master plan. And kind of walk me through the components of that and how they would help you accomplish what you're describing.
Well, right now, it's probably no secret, if you've been down there, we look like an asphalt jungle with a bunch of metal buildings popped up everywhere, right? Yeah. And that's not, and no matter how powerful our brand is in the industry of bringing these people in and stuff like that, if you don't have the facilities, you just can't compete. Now, again, as I said earlier, one thing we do have is we have San Antonio, Texas. We have the power of this location. Now, when we took the judge and people around and we started showing them the industry, we showed them a type of competitive facility that we would need to be able to go after these things. So this plan that we're talking about essentially means if we would go in, the Spurs are at, I think, 46 home games that would be vacating. So we would go in, and we've offered the county that we would take 20 days inside of the current Frost Bank Center, and we also would take 20 days inside of the Coliseum, and that we would activate those, be it through PBRs to bullfighting events to music, country acts that kind of work throughout the year. So that would allow us the ability to take kind of the music industry and that stuff and sprinkle it out in a year-round focus outside of the month of February.
And basically filling in the gap left by Spurs as the anchor tenant.
Correct. Stepping up for the county and helping. The key to this was, how are we going to salvage those grounds down there? How are we going to take care of the east side? We have to protect our home. We don't want to go anywhere. And the judge needs to take care of the east side, and the county needs to take care of those facilities down there. And that's where the blend came together that we were able to do this. The other part of it is not just going in there and activating and filling those gaps inside of the existing structures, but up to the north, we have an area there called, it's the Expo Hall right now, but taking that and creating a production facility that fits kind of a niche in size. See, I can't go in and activate the Frost Bank Center all the time with these cuttings and charrettas and these different things, right?
Yeah.
But a facility up there, if we take that Expo 1 and we convert it into a production deal, what I mean by that is essentially create like a miniature Frost Bank Center. Have the bells and whistles. Give me a center hung. Give me LED boards. Give me the lighting. Give me the permanent seating feel. Give me a VIP section bar, that type of area. Give me all those things. And now I can walk in anywhere across the nation and go talk to those entities and say, we have the type of facility that, your competitors are going to want to come to. Side note, very important, but these competitors and people we're talking about bringing in, you look at our economic impact study, and with our competitors, they're staying an average of 3 to 4 days, because that's the way our events are built. They're multiple day events. They're staying an average of 3 to 4 days, and it's outside money coming in. These are not San Antonio, barrel racers all converging here. They're coming from whether it's across the nation or statewide, coming in, sending outside money, sending multiple days. They need somewhere to eat. They need somewhere to sleep. And all of our economic impact studies show that, where they're staying, what they're doing.
I'm curious if this has come up before. You said earlier the rodeo's been on the east side for decades. Had the idea to expand programming, to renovate facilities, basically to do something way bigger, come up in the past, and the county or the Spurs weren't interested in working with you all? Yeah,
I think that we have tried. We haven't really tried anywhere near like the plan we're talking about here. But we have tried to expand in areas. We've tried to take additional days. We've tried to do certain things, and it's nobody's fault. You literally have a triad, a three-way roommates, to your reference, Greg. You've got the Spurs, the Rodeo, and the county, which is a Coliseum Advisory Board in there. You've got 3 entities in there, and we're all like bound with each other. There's certain things the Spurs can't do because we constrict, vice versa. We all were just kind of bound in there. So I guess to directly answer your question, we tried to expand things here and there, but really what has happened is our window that we have, that month of February, we're running youth events. We're running kids events before we're even fully set up, just because we want to capture so much there. And then we're stacking everything into February so much that it's just jammed up. And what we've done is we just keep piling on top of February.
Yeah. So you've got a lease agreement with the county.
We do.
Now, what do you consider the more onerous parts of it that have really kind of hemmed in your growth over time?
I apologize.
What parts of the lease agreement are the most difficult to work with as you're looking to expand, to grow?
I think the difficulty, number one, would go back to when I was just referencing that triad. You've got a crowded house. Right. I have to go get permission from 2 different groups. And
do they ever say yes?
And vice versa. they try. I mean,
they either say yes or no.
It's not no, but we constrict them as well. And I think getting down to 2 partners, or it's just Cab and the Rodeo, and especially since we built this vision with Cab together, so now you're down to 2. That helps tremendously. But our biggest restriction is literally the dates we have. The San Antonio Sexual Rodeo, it could be so much larger. But it's just the dates we have. Right. We're bound.
Now, you'd mentioned when on learning that the Spurs were considering a move downtown, curling up in a ball. But I mean, honestly, it seems like you got over that pretty quickly. Because
it took me one night.
Yeah. Because Madison and I, we were the reporters who broke that story. we reported the hell out of it. And were you... I don't want to, it's like, I don't want to claim divinity for the expressionists. You maybe had heard that these talks were underway between the Spurs and the city. Were you, or did it come as a surprise?
It came as a surprise. We as well had, heard. But I think when it really came down, it came as a surprise. and all kidding aside, like as I was referencing, the show was ready.
Yeah.
All the divine intervention, like it was all there.
Yeah.
Everything was set, and we were ready. Mm-hmm. It was just me. I sat there that night and I'm like, what in the hell do we do now? And then by the time I woke up in the morning, I go, it's all there. It's all there. Yeah. Man, it's been building like this. It is one of the greatest opportunities our show has been presented with. And I believe it's our generation's duty to carry that forward.
Right. Now, for the kind of growth you're talking about, I mean, you got the San Antonio Livestock and Exposition Incorporated, the nonprofit that runs this talk show and rodeo.
Yes, sir.
It seems to me like this would have to grow pretty dramatically as an organization to accommodate and kind of operate what you're describing. Is that the case? I mean, how is this organization?
No, I think it's great, and I thank you for setting me up for that, because my show, my board, my volunteers, this is a risk that a nonprofit is taking here. And lots of times I'll go out and people, it's almost like expected, like, well, y'all need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. I want to remind everybody, we are a 501c nonprofit organization. Mm. Our entire mission is to educate the youth of Texas through various forms all over the place, right? But that's what we're about. Mm. We're a nonprofit. And yet we're stepping forward saying we want to maintain our home on the east side. We're going to take care of our county facilities that we began with. Mm-hmm. We're going to fill that void. We're a nonprofit. And I mean, my board, my volunteers, everybody we're willing to take this on because we believe so much in what we're doing. And the key to doing all this is not that we need, the reason we're doing this is we are stuck in a cycle right now for the month of February and the revenues that we can generate to give back to the kids. We are in a cycle. I can fight for every dime out there and I can bump the needle a little bit here and there, but truthfully, we're in a cycle. This is the opportunity for us to break out of that cycle and have more impact locally in our neighborhoods, from outreach programs that we're doing right now, to the financial giving through the scholarships, endowments, and grants and premiums that we do, to competitive program. We reference money a lot, which is easy to quantify, and all that. But just the component of youth programs in our area that are developing character, the components of the spirit of competition, taking kids that believe in what they're doing, bring them in and building these competitions for them, so that they can go out and be rewarded with the spirit of competition in their efforts and things like that. Once we can bust out of February, then we are able to have a massive platform to do all that on.
Now, so annually, you generate about $12 million for scholarships, right?
Endowments, grant, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does that change when you're not talking about year-round events, or is the fundraising for scholarships really just going to be confined to that February event, the big show? No,
I definitely would hope that it expands. That's we need it to expand. We want it to expand by hosting these events and stuff like that. I'm laying the platform right now for opportunity. Once we have an open schedule, once we have facilities that we can work in, once we have the industry that we can welcome in and stuff like that, then the creativity and the opportunities are out there. The sky's the limit of what we can do. And again, I'll be studying my peers in Calgary and even things that are happening in Vegas and December, stuff like that. That allows us the opportunity to expand. And the key is for more giving so that we can do more in there.
I want to ask you about maybe one of your peer cities. I'm thinking of the Stockyards in Fort Worth. I was looking at just kind of their grounds earlier and the fact that there's, of course, a lot of, Western events, but there's also shops and restaurants and hotels, and there's a lot threaded together.
Yeah.
That's not the case right now on the east side with the Frost Bank Center and those other facilities. It's very disjointed. Do you see those other pieces, the shops, the restaurants, the hotels, maybe housing, as coming in after this rodeo plan happens, or how do you view the development piece?
So we're like, well, first I run a stock show and rodeo, right? I need to be very clear.
You're not a developer.
Right. I run a stock show and rodeo. Yeah. I'm not the developer, but I will very much say that we as a show are dying for development to happen around there. That's great for us. We want it. We're on board. We want to help everywhere we can to make that happen. I think it's important when you talk about the Stockyards and what you just witnessed down there. You think of they had Cowtown Coliseum there. and then they had Billy Bob. So essentially what they had was music, and then they had activation. They took Cowtown. They said, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to run small Western events in here all the time on a regular basis. And then if you watch what happened, the traction started. Here comes the burger joint. Here comes the little bar. And then here comes the hotel. And they built up around that nucleus of action. It was pretty cool. I took some of our local politicians up there to try to show it to them. And they were just amazed because they're like, Cody, these are not all like cowboys. They're hearing, and I'd go up and I'd say, hey, just quick question, guys, where are y'all from? Well, we're from Minnesota. Where are y'all from? We're down here from, New York. And it was blowing their minds because these people are coming just to experience this field, and the type of that's the tourist I'm talking about. But I think what's very important, going back to your question and what I believe, if you look at what we do in February, if you look at what 1.5 million people that are coming on those grounds in February, 1.5 million, and do the math real simple. The arena holds 18,000. Those people, season ticket holders, people are coming in, okay, what percentage of that is necessarily from out of town? Probably not real high, but 1.5 million, 18,000 in an arena. We have 69 foreign countries, I believe, that came and visited us last year. Our competitors that are all over the grounds, from the youth shows to the horse shows to the livestock shows. All those competitors, those are the ones that are coming from out of our area. We have representation from every single county in the state of Texas that comes in the month of February. So you start playing the numbers, 1.5 million people, every single county represented in the month of February. All these people are coming in, and our studies are showing they're staying there an average of 3 days, right? This is a completely different type of client, if you will, than me driving in to go watch a concert and going back home. You're talking about a completely different type of client. And if you look at what our grounds are doing in February, without with that type of traction and people down there and these they're coming as families, these competitors, they're going to the Riverwalk, they're going to the zoo. You can look at all these places that are going. That type of client in the month of February, well, you can support development with that type of client. If you're only doing it in the month of February, it's probably not a really great business plan. But if you have that type of person that is essentially trapped there with us because they're from out of town and we've got them captured for multiple days, well, now you're bringing in the type of client that there's traction, that hopefully the developers will recognize and follow on. I firmly believe that. Last plug, and I will plug this. You look at the way we're built, all right? Industrial to the north, industrial to the south, train tracks on our west, an absolutely gorgeous golf course on our east. I'm not talking about the golf course before people start chasing me with a 9-iron. that frontage strip there, that beautiful frontage strip there. If we were to somehow get help wherever it comes from to where you could have some kind of, public-private partnership inside of there where you're overlooking a golf course on one side and you're looking onto these revived grounds and stuff like that, we'll have the people to go there. They'll be on those grounds to go there. To me, that's the prime win for everybody. Right. Way above my pay grade, by the way.
Well, I mean, so the county judge, Peter Sakai, he's very interested in the Willow Springs Municipal Golf Course. The city may be less interested in giving it to him or selling it to him until they have a plan. Yeah. But you've spent how long have you been CEO of the rodeo?
Well, I'm coming into my 8th year. They tricked me. I'm coming into my 8th year of being a CEO. But I've been on those grounds. I started as a volunteer down there in 97.
Okay.
So
it's a lot of time.
Every inch of those grounds I've been on volunteering.
Yeah. And at some point you maybe looked across the street at the golf course and said, there's a better use.
I've looked at it forever. Yes.
What would you do with it? What do you want to see?
Oh, I think
if you could make anything happen at Willow Springs, what would it be?
It just restaurants, somewhere to eat. I work there every day, and I know. Trust me, there's nowhere to go around there. We have to travel out of, and we don't want to. We want to be in our immediate area. But if we could offer, if you could offer restaurants and start with the restaurants and bars and stuff like that, if you could offer that type of atmosphere there for people to go to, they'll go to it. The people that we have there, they're looking for the closest nice location to go to. And again, going back to overlooking a golf course, how nice is that? The next component is if you look at our economic impact and how they're the proximity of the hotels that they're hitting there, you can see where they're heavy as close as they can get to us, and then they're expanding out from there. We need lodging, but I understand why it's not there now. I fully understand why it's not there now. I just think there's an opportunity for a new type of person coming in that would provide that.
So you were a volunteer for the rodeo back in, I guess, 99 when you had this first venue tax election to pay for what became the Frost Bank Center. And as you know, there are a lot of bitter feelings on the East Side about promises that voters felt were made. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were. But whatever. A lot of East Side residents felt like they were promised growth that never happened. Yeah. How does that affect, if at all, how you talk about what the rodeo has in mind going forward? Are you talking with voters about what we just talked about, all of this potential growth, or are you a little more circumspect?
No, I am. I try to be very, as honest and open as I can on everything. And now in '99, I was a kid. I didn't know what was going on at all. I talk about the here and now, and I talk about the expansion that we're at right now. Now at the point that I'm in, I recognize, all these things I talked about, the type of people that are coming. I understand what draws development from my peers up in Fort Worth and stuff like that, much more knowledgeable. So I would share what I just shared, and I'm not here to claim one way or another, what was promised, what was not followed. So I know what my generation is trying to do and what we can do, and that's what we're committed to.
I'm curious about the two propositions that voters are going to see when they go to the ballot. They're two separate boxes of text. Spurs, rodeo, essentially. Do you see them as intertwined, or do you see them as very separate? If the Spurs piece doesn't pass and the rodeo piece does, however the vote goes, how do you see that?
We see them as intertwined.
Okay.
For the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo to accomplish its full potential and dreams, we feel the Spurs need to be able to fulfill theirs downtown as well. We think a nice, a controlled, unified city, county, Spurs, everybody together developing out this city in that manner is a win for everybody to accomplish the dreams, right? If we don't, it's going to get muddy. I don't see how it doesn't. So to answer you directly, yes, we very much believe in both sides being able to accomplish their growth potential. I look at this as a gift, as a positive. There's a lot of, I understand there's a lot of negative, and it's natural. It happens. People get emotional over these things, and they should care. But what a gift, truthfully, our community has been given, that you have two iconic brands in this area between the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo and the Spurs that both are looking to expand and grow and take care of areas. In my mind, that's a gift to our community. I firmly believe that. Now, I know taxes, I get it, and bad word, I got it, I understand.
It seems like that intertwined piece, that it's the Spurs and the rodeo, not separate things, is very much reflected in the campaign so far. I was at the rally at Idle a few weeks ago, and you were there. Manu Ginobili was there in the mailers. In the mailers that I've gotten, there's information about the rodeo and the Spurs. And I'm curious why you chose that strategy, the intertwining, as opposed to saying, we're going to focus on the rodeo piece and what we're doing and kind of distance ourselves from the rest.
I think it goes back to I need to say the Spurs have been a tremendous partner of ours. We laugh about it's a crowded house and too many roommates and all these types of things, and we joke about that. But I do want to say the rodeo owes the Spurs in the sense that if we had not gone with them and built that arena, we still would be operating in a little coliseum at a small scale in our industry. So for us to grow to the size that we are now, increase our giving to the size to 12 million you referenced going back, things like that, to be able to get to that size and do all that, that partnership with the Spurs was critical. And they have been wonderful partners of ours to get us to that point and stuff like that. So that's one. But two, it goes back to, again, a unified front. We need them to leave to fulfill our dreams. Right, I've been open about it. I don't hide it. We laugh about it. RC and I will joke about it. But they need to fulfill theirs as well for all of us to go together. So we chose to unify and see if the voters will believe in us.
Now, is the morning you woke up and said, okay, I got it. I was panicking last night. I was all a tizzy, but now I'm not. I know exactly what I'm. So you do. How about your board? Like, I mean, what you're talking about is like a dramatic sea change, right? Like kind of organizationally.
That was the second panic.
Well, I mean, well, tell me what was their reaction? I mean, these are community people and like they're, I would imagine a number of them have been on your board a long time. They're used to things being done in a certain way, all in February. Yeah. And this is a very different thing. So describe that.
I'm very, very blessed to have a tremendous board that is very knowledgeable. If you look at some of my members of my board, they're very knowledgeable. But I think that when I walked in there and began, it wasn't an overnight deal. It's not like I was, hey, guess what, guys? This is what we're doing. It was a unified process. And luckily, a lot of this, they recognized this was not a center structure on Rodeo. I laugh about it. I woke up in the morning and had this epiphany. This is a process that had been building for years in the sense that, they knew that we're busting at the seams in February. They knew that we're trying to get youth events here that we can't even get in. We're turning back, program that we want to do in competitive events for kids and stuff like that. They know we're bound there. They travel with me to these locations I'm talking about. I have board members that go with me to these things. So it's not like I'm having to educate them and all this. When I walked in and I said, this is our moment, guys. Let's think about what all we've seen out there. They understood 100%. I didn't have to swing them or, talk them into or anything like that. They had lived this process with me because I have a very tight board. So as soon as we said it, we all recognize this is our generation's duty to grow the show. They recognized it and they were behind it. Yeah. To a board member, they were behind it.
And you paid for all of the master planning that went into this.
Did not.
You did not?
No.
Okay, who did?
The county paid for it.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Right. As my nonprofit, I sat there and I was like,
it's like nah.
I will do it. I'm going to pinch every penny here, guys.
Okay.
They
so the county
the county did pay for it. But there again, the firm, they traveled with us to locations. They learned about our industry. They understood when we're showing them things like, listen, for production purposes, we have to have a center hung at this location, things like that. They learned it all. They understood it. They were very receptive.
Mm-hmm. Now, this kind of goes back to basically campaigning in tandem with the Spurs. I think a lot of voters could reasonably ask, it's like, okay, so why are we talking about building a new multi-purpose venue downtown? It's during the NBA season, it's going to be the Spurs, but then it'll be concerts, large events the rest of the year. And then you've got the Alamo Dome, and then you've got the Frost Bank Center, and then you've got the Freeman Coliseum. And under this arrangement, you're basically stepping in for the Spurs as the anchor tenant at Frost Bank Center and Freeman Coliseum. Like, answer concerns about overcapacity, just having too many of these large venues. How do you make a living out of that? Well,
I think that, from my side, my little niche focus, if you will, the Western industry is 100% what we do. I'm not out there trying to compete in all these other things. We know the Western industry, as we talked earlier, will support these grounds and these plants. So my only protective measure was to work with the Spurs and say, great, we have to make sure that the Western industry is protected on the east side.
Yeah.
And we have come to terms and agreement to where the industry that we will build upon, the industry that we run and that we know, is protected on the east side.
With the 20 days, though, that you'd have at the Frost Bank Center or I think also the Freeman Coliseum, you said, with the concerts and the like, I'm wondering, kind of to go back to Greg's question, just with those types of events and competing with venues, how confident are you that you'll be able to differentiate with the concert, the music piece, essentially, from the Alamo Dome, from even the smaller venues downtown?
Well, I wish I could compete with the Alamo Dome, but with the size seats they have, I can't. So when you think of the size, then of course you narrow down. Okay, what am I really competing against in that size and stuff like that? But we do a different type of production. When you go back to the protection of the Western industry, you've got extreme Bronx events out there. You've got the bull riding, the PBRs. You've got the BFOs. You got the things. So we can stack just like we do in February. We can create where we're doing music combined with, Western production, which gives us a unique product that is protected under this agreement that I'm talking about. So we have a unique product that we're good at and have had success with for years that we're putting out there. I'm not going head to head in that type of competition. Does that make sense? Now I might, we might throw a concert up there if we run our little matrix and it shows, hey, you know what, we could go grab Cody Johnson and throw him out there and hit a home run because it's dead right now or whatever. I'm not saying we're not going to do that, but we also can do the type things we do now where we might put, some bullfighting mixed in with the music and capture that. And then, we also have a massive Latin market out there that we can be doing things inside of there too that we mix with our rodeo industry as well. So I think it's doing what we know how to do. As long as it's protected, we can work that niche and we can keep on flowing. Not going head to head.
Right. So going back 2 years, you've figured it out. You know where you got your.
I really appreciate all that credit.
You got it all figured out. And you brought your board along. They said, Cody, it's finally we get some vision. So anyway, but at that time, the county judge was, he seemed to be flailing a little bit, just a little. He was caught off guard by the Spurs talks with the city, and he didn't really appear for a while to know what the way forward was. Yep. Describe for me kind of your approach to him. How did you get him? Because he is solidly on board with this plan.
Yeah,
he's way behind it. How did you help bring that about?
Well, you're 100% right. First of all, Judge Sakai I would have hated to have been in his shoes. Right. In that time when you think
anybody would, yeah.
Who wants to be in that position?
That's right.
So as a human, yeah. I felt he was in a tough spot. Mm-hmm. But the key to it was just like y'all started with, and everybody would, and I get it. And when I first went to Judge Kai, and I'm a rodeo guy, and he's been to our rodeo, so he kind of knows what we do. And I said, Judge, we can go year round. His whole knee jerk was like, well, I don't see how rodeo is, going to work year round. I go, and you're right, it wouldn't. So what I want you to do is just attach to my hip and come with me. And to the judge's credit, he traveled with it. The judge is not a rodeo guy, right?
You're kidding me. Really?
Yeah, shocking, right? Yeah. He'll put on a hat for us and take a photo.
We love it when he does that.
He's not a rodeo guy, and really, our commissioners are not hardcore rodeo people. But what they did do, and I give them all full credit for, is that they were so receptive to the fact that we have always been there. We've never been late on a payment. We are that tenant that has always been loyal to them. They said, we'll listen to you. And I said, don't let me just be a running motor mouth. Come with me. Go see it with your own eyes. Yeah. And once they got out and they saw the money being spent in this industry, the size of this industry, all these things that we were talking about, I was able to let them see it with their own eyes. And that's when the judge turned to me and said, okay, I see the vision. Go see if we can get a plan that makes sense. And that's when the architects came into play. Okay.
What can you tell us, just going into the election, about the polling that y'all have done about success at the ballot, essentially? Yeah.
So we did some polling, way back when it first started. And this is all new to me, so it's kind of funny. I use terms but we did some polling way back. And the baseline was that we're very blessed that the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo had extremely high approval ratings, very high. Across all precincts, by the way, which was awesome. It wasn't just isolated in an area. And if you look at our giving, it is very spread out. But all precincts, we had a very high approval rate. Now, the term is, and this is me being all, know what I'm talking about. You have your uneducated voter and your educated voter. So first was, okay, what is your perception of the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo? Very high. Mm-hmm. Then you come in and you say, okay, what if, it was going to take the dreaded word, some tax dollars to build new facilities for expansion? Well, of course it comes down, but it still was in the positive range. So what we found was, even though we used the dreaded word tax, and that was before we went to the level of the educated voter, which is getting out and saying, this is not a property tax, this is not a sales tax, this is a tourism tax. Before you do all that education component inside of there, the uneducated voter, and it sounds wrong when I say that, but the information has not been put out to them yet. We still were in the positive zone. Now our job is to get out and try to do what you're allowing me to do here. Mm-hmm. What is the vision you guys are talking about down there? And how are you going to spend this money? And where is this tax coming from? Because I'm not paying for it. You're not taxing my property or anything like that. Yeah. So getting out there and saying, no, this is, same way it was done before. Essentially, it's a tourism tax. I've got to bring the people in. The tourists are paying for it. Mm-hmm. And then you can get into miles upon miles, and we've all heard it all, where it can be used to, can we use it for sidewalks and things like that? And you can't. Yeah, yes, you can use it for sidewalks in that particular district. So you could say, well, it can be used for sidewalks. Well, yeah, but just for the venue area. It goes down to, being used for venues, a venue tax being used for venues. And then you get down to, okay, well, what venues? And then I would say, if you're going to bet on a horse, the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo, we've been here since 1949. We've done nothing but give and educate kids forever. We've been tried and true to the county. We've been tried and true to the city. We have shown great success and growth. We're not a new entity. I have 7,000 volunteers spread throughout our entire community that can tell the exact same story. What horse are you going to bet on? As far as, if you're going to have to take that money and put it into a venue, I sure hope you bet on us.
Yeah. Do you, under your lease agreement, your existing lease agreement with the county, do you have responsibilities for maintenance, for upkeep of the facilities, or is that a county responsibility?
It's a county responsibility currently, and we would be looking.
Is that going to change?
If we take over, I would propose it. If we take over the facilities that I'm talking about, year round, the ones that we would be operating, that goes back to the arena I was talking about and stuff like that. Yeah. I would very much. I think it would only make sense that we as well took care of them, kept them up, because I have a full-on operations crew that takes care of things all the time. That's down there year round. We've sunk millions of dollars. By the way, we're the greatest tenant. If I could ever have a rent house and find renters like us, we've sunk millions of dollars of our own money into county grounds that we don't own, just because we need to get things done. We need them repaired, and we have a show to put on. We're awesome tenants. I would rather us kind of take care of the upkeep and of the facilities that we're operating year round. Now, when you're talking about the Frost Bank Center and the Coliseum, stuff like that still would reside with the county.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How many employees do you have in your nonprofit?
33.
Okay. How many volunteers?
7,000.
Wow. Yeah. How that 33? How much is it going to have to grow? How much is your staff?
How
much bigger is it going to?
Yeah. In my head, I've already been obviously playing with it and working on it. My best estimate is so. We're probably talking about like a 5-year progression here. Mm-hmm. It's not like we would just flip the switch,
right?
And the facility
actually have to build the stuff,
right? So we're looking like a 5-year progressive period. My best estimates upon all and I have help off my board, working with Bandless too. Essentially a times 2 to make it simple. Mm-hmm. Over that 5-year period, we would transition employees to do a times 2. We'd probably be hovering around 60.
Okay. Okay, last question, because you've been really good with your time and we appreciate it. Do you have a cowboy hat allowance as part of your compensation package?
I need you to come negotiate my contract. Because I never thought of that, but I need to.
You do. You need to. You need to, because those aren't cheap. And I would imagine you go through a lot. Right.
I am notorious for not taking care of my hats, which is not a good quality in our industry, by the way. But my dogs jump on them. They're on my dashboards in my truck. And everybody's always like, will you please wear a decent hat today? So, yeah.
Well, your hat's lovely. I mean,
Thank you.
It's spotless. So we take that as a good sign. You're showing us some respect.
I got all dressed up for you.
it.
I got all dressed up for you.
All right. Well, thank you, Cody Davenport. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you having taken the time. And thank you for joining us. We will see you again next week. If you've not signed up for the ENside Politics newsletter, I still don't know what to say other than drop to the show notes, click on a link, and sign up for it. And we'll be done with it, and I'll never have to mention it again. Thank you very much, and we'll see you later.